Joyce's question, but hey, you guys, thank you guys for being here. This is our last Q&A of the year, and it's going to be a short and sweet one. I'm going to go over a couple new concepts with you. We didn't get a lot of questions, and bear with me. I still got a very, very bad scratchy throat, but I do want you to let's take a second and you guys get something to write with and a piece of paper so you can take some notes. For some of you guys, you're familiar with. You've been coming to our lunch and learns, and some of the coaching students have gone out with us. Went out with us last Saturday, and so we'll be familiar with what I'm getting ready to introduce to some of you guys. So let's take a second, get something to write with, and we'll get started. In the meantime, Keith, did you want to say anything?
No, I just it's good that you guys are on the call, and we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and lots of good opportunities and good fortune in the new year. I think that what Greg is introducing to us is really, really exciting. I think it gives everyone a real chance to make money, but add properties to your coffers, your portfolio, whatever. So we're just really excited. I had some conversations with some of you earlier today just to kind of talk about what we're doing. So get your notepad out and pen and paper, and I think you guys will be inspired and excited.
So I'll go ahead and get started. Try and get you guys out by within 30 minutes. So I've been talking a lot in the last couple months, probably since my mastermind meeting, which was, I think, August or September. I'm part of a mastermind group, national mastermind group. And I went to a meeting that we had in Tampa, Florida. And one of the things I came back with was creative financing. And so I've been doing creative financing and using creative financing strategies my whole career. My first two properties I ever purchased, my first one at 23 years old, I bought it seller financing. And then I've been buying property subject to. I bought my first family home as a lease option. And so I've been using it, but not as a major strategy. And so one of my mastermind members is a guy by the name of Pace Morby. And so Pace is in my mastermind group. Met him. He spoke. And I had never heard of him. Some of you guys probably have. If you've heard of Pace, put in the comment section that you've heard of him. So up until that point, I'd never heard of him. And as a practice, Pace primarily uses creative financing. And so after he spoke, I came back and started looking at his videos and said, you know what? For my community, and because of this market that we're in with high interest rates, I think it's best for me to teach my community creative financing strategies. Now, when we talk about creative financing strategies, we're talking about seller financing. So if we find a property and the seller owns the property free and clear, we're asking the seller to be the bank. That's called seller financing. So we're not going to go out and get a loan. Now an investor loan is going to be about 8%. We're going to use their financing. And what we've seen in the last 3 or 4 months is some of these sellers still have like 2% interest rates, 3% interest rates. And so we want to take over those mortgages, and that's called subject to. So I just combined the two. I don't want to confuse you guys. So number one, seller financing. there's no more, if there's no mortgage on the property, seller has no mortgage on the property, then we want them to be the bank, and we want to negotiate with them at an interest rate much lower than what we can get on the marketplace now, which is around 8%. If they have a mortgage on the property, we want to take that mortgage over, and that's called a subject to. We're going to buy the property subject to the existing mortgage. And so we want to take over that current mortgage and negotiate with them that way, and acquire the property that way. Both both seller financing and buying the property subject to are two creative financing strategies that we actually own the property. We're going to go to settlement on both of those. We own the property. Now, if the property, as an example, let's say we're buying a property for $400,000, and we're buying a property for $400,000, and they have a mortgage on the property, let's say for $150,000. We want to take over that $150,000, but let's say we're going to buy it for $400,000. If we take over a mortgage that's $150,000, that leaves $250,000. We're going to do a hybrid approach where we're going to take over the mortgage at $150,000 and make those payments, and then ask the seller to finance the rest, that other $250,000. That's called a hybrid. We're going to do both a seller financing and a subject to. If those three doesn't work when we're negotiating, then we'll opt to do a rent with an option to buy, or a lease option, where we're going to rent the property, let's just say for 2 years. And then after the 2-year period, we're going to refinance and pay them off. And I'm just giving you guys a crash course. There's a lot more to all this. Let's say the lease option doesn't work, then we will do a master lease, or what's called a rental arbitrage, where if we can force enough cash flow on the property, we'll go ahead and just do a straight rental. And let's just say we'll do a straight rental, and our rental price is $2,000. If we can force enough cash flow through one of the programs that I'm getting ready to talk about, and have a positive cash flow of $1,000 or $2,000 a month, then as a last resort, we're okay with just getting cash flow without any ownership. And so that's called a rental arbitrage, or a corporate lease, or a master lease. And so those are the creative financing strategies. What we've been doing recently is taking those strategies and then having another rental strategy where we can force cash flow. And that rental strategy is midterm leases, or midterm rentals. With midterm rentals, you're getting more cash flow than any other rental strategy. So we have short-term rentals, which most of you guys know that they're basically the Airbnbs of the world. They're 30 days or less, but primarily a week or a weekend. That's called a short-term rental, highly regulated. You make more money per day with a short-term rental, but the problem is you've got high turnover and high maintenance costs. A long-term rental is your traditional rentals where we're renting out for a year and beyond. That's a long-term rental. We're generally renting to market rate tenants or voucher holders. That's a long-term. In the middle there is what we call midterm rentals, where we're renting out for 30 days to a year, but primarily 90 days, between 3 and 6 months primarily. But midterm, the definition is to rent from 30 days to a year. The pros of midterm rentals is you're going to get 2 to 3 times your rent, 2 to 3 times your long-term rent. It's less turnover than short-term rentals. It's not regulated like short-term rentals. Short-term rentals have become very regulated in the rental industry because the hotel lobbyists have come in and they've got all these regulations on. As an example, in PG County or in DC, you can only rent for 180 days a year. Midterm rentals, there's no regulation. And so we're looking to do a lot of midterm rentals to get that cash flow, to force that cash flow and to have a positive cash flow. And so as an example, we looked at properties on Saturday. Now, we looked at properties, the coaching students looked at properties on Saturday in Baltimore. What makes Baltimore a great area for midterm rentals is the cost of entry, as we all know, is a lot lower. So that so we're buying properties in Baltimore for, let's just say, between 200,000 and 300,000 in B neighborhoods, where the rents are between 2,000 and 2,500. Then we force cash flow by renting out rooms to professionals like travel nurses, luxury co-living, teacher programs, targeted audiences like that. Now, in the midterm space, we also rent whole houses as well. And you can 3 times your rent by renting out to insurance relocators. I told a story at Friday's Lunch and Learn where I had a property in Petworth many years ago. I renovated the property and was going to flip the property and put on the market for rent and for sale. And the rent came first. It was an insurance relocator that called me and said, I've got a client that I need to relocate. Their house caught on fire. Would you take a 6-month lease? And I said, no, I want a year. And so we kept talking, and they said, I was renting the property at that time for about $2,000 a month. They said, I'll give you $6,000 a month. Of course, I said yes. And then my tenant ended up staying about a year. I've got a really, really close family member. The house just caught on fire. Actually caught on fire about 2.5 years ago. And the same thing, they got relocated to a property in, I think it was in Temple Hills or Clinton, maybe Clinton. And they was actually in that house for 2 years. And so, as I said Friday, every 88 seconds, house catches on fire. And so, working with insurance relocators, it's very easy to find a family that's going to move into your house and stay 6 months to a year. And so that's insurance. And there's many people that, as an investment practice, all they deal with is insurance relocators. Why we use creative financing is because, number one, interest rates are high. Number two, your credit is, no one's checking your credit, so it's easier to qualify. We want to take over someone's note or have someone hold the whole note for us. And so we're going to use creative finance. We've been using creative financing. So William, just you asked the question, um, that's your answer. Your answer is for you to get started. Um, you can market these opportunities and either purchase these properties yourself or wholesale these opportunities, putting those deals together. That's why we use creative financing. Reason why we're at midterm rentals is because we want as much cash flow as possible. Now in Baltimore, I talked to a website. I didn't talk to them. I was on a YouTube video, and this guy was interviewing the owner of Furnish Finders. You guys can write down furnishfinders.com. Furnishfinders.com is a site that you put your properties on if you're looking for nurses. And so one of the places that travel nurses look at is furnishfinders.com, because they're looking for properties in different cities that are already furnished. They get a certain stipend for their 3-month stay, and they can extend to another 3 months, 6-month stay. And so one of the main sites that we look at, among others, is Furnish Finders, to put our properties on that site so that we can find other professionals. Now, 40% of the professionals that are on Furnish Finders are not just nurses, but medical travel professionals. They get a stipend. They can rent a whole house or a whole apartment. Many rent rooms.
Hey, Greg, as far as distance from the hospital, what's an ideal property hold for a traveling nurse, where a traveling nurse would want to stay there?
One would tell you 3 or 4 miles from the hospital, but a lot of the nurses that I've interviewed, they just want to be in the city. They want a walkable neighborhood. They want to come off work and be able to walk to like a bar, restaurant, that sort of thing. So I don't pay too much attention to how far they are from the hospital. What I pay attention to is I want to pick cities like Baltimore that has at least 10 hospitals, and I want to find B neighborhoods where they feel safe. And then they don't mind a little longer commute. Although where we were on Saturday, I think someone said that like John Hopkins was like 3 miles away, something like that. But I know Marquise, he wants to be 3 or 4 miles from a hospital. I don't think it really matters as long as you're in the city. And I didn't make this up. A couple nurses told me, as long as they're in the city, and they have a really great experience. And so, and maybe the neighborhood closest to the hospital doesn't give them the experience where they can walk to nightclubs, bars, restaurants, shopping, things like that. And so that's really what they're looking for when they come into a city. And so that's what all those things make for a great experience in a city like Baltimore, where you're close to areas of town, sometimes historic, but definitely neighborhoods where you can walk. Like Pigtown is good, Greek Town, Little Italy, all those places where there are B neighborhoods in Baltimore. We were in Patterson Park, and I think almost every property that we looked at, and we looked at about 4 or 5, were great neighborhoods. We're looking for properties that have as many bathrooms as possible, because you can get a premium if a professional has their own bedroom and bathroom. You get a little less money if they have to share. Now, if they have to share a bathroom, they primarily only want to share with one other person on a midterm rental. And so those are the kind of areas, targeted areas. There's other cities around us like Richmond, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, that make for great midterm rental locations because number one, there's at least 10 hospitals in those cities, so it's great for medical professionals. So you always have a market for there. Um, the cost of living is lower, the housing prices are lower, and they have pockets in the city where they're like neighborhoods where you can walk to, like the neighborhood bar and things like that. And that's what travel professionals are looking for. There's different sites that you can actually put your properties on. I already mentioned one. Furnish Finders is definitely one. CoLiving.com is another one where travel professionals go, or professionals go for co-living. And co-living is another investment definition or investment strategy. It's similar to medical professionals, but these are just professionals renting out rooms. And so it's said that it's a new phenomenon where younger professionals, millennials, are renting rooms as a way to either the digital nomads, where they have a job where they can work from home, and they're just working in different cities, getting an experience, or they're commuting, or like my cousin who lived in Richmond but had a job here in DC. He rented a room in a townhouse, lived there during the week, and went back home on the weekend. So you have lots of professionals that are doing those things. Okay, let's see. Where are we finding these properties? And so this is another thing that I really like about this space, is these, I like to say these properties are hiding in clear sight of us. And so for these properties, we're not spending a lot of money on marketing. These properties for these midterm rentals are right on the MLS. And so if you're a realtor, you have access to the MLS. If you're not a realtor, you can get privy.com, and you can use our coupon code Bennett to get a discount. I think it's a 30% discount. Mm-hmm. But Privy is the MLS, and they have access to every MLS in the United States. Privy. Now, if we're doing midterm rentals in DC, Virginia, Baltimore, wherever, and you're an agent, then you have access to the Bright MLS. And so we're finding properties there. We're finding properties on auctions. But all the properties that we looked at on Saturday were all newly renovated. They were, I think one or two of them were already staged.
Yep.
You can either keep the furniture, buy the furniture, but the properties that I'm talking about are furnished. You get more if they're furnished, so that the travel professional doesn't have to come in town and buy a bed, and you get more money on average. I had mentioned that I was listening to a video of the owner of Furnish Finders, and on their site you can look up and see, or you can actually call them and see what the average room rental is. So I called and I spoke to one of their salespeople, and I asked them, in Baltimore, what's the average rental there, room rental? And she said between $1,500 a month and $2,300 a month, which I was surprised at the $2,300. I was thinking, if you really do a good job in furnishing the property, putting digital thermostats, putting, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Curator? The coffee thing, the Curator?
Keurig? Yeah, Keurig.
Keurig. I don't drink coffee. Keurig, washer and dryer in the property. If you really make it like really, really nice, I was thinking you could, in the properties that we looked at, you could get about $2,000. But so let's just say on the high side, you can get 2,000. You have a 4-bedroom. Let's just say you have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, where 2 of the bedrooms, because I think that's what we saw. Let's just say 2 of the bedrooms have their own bathroom, so that's 2,000, and 2 don't. That's 1,500 a piece. So that's a total of $7,000. But let's just say we have a property, and the total that we're able to get is say $5,000. For most of us, you guys, $5,000, you guys, if you buy that property right, pay it down, pay it off, you've got $5,000 for the rest of your life in passive income on one property. If you get 2 properties for retirement, buy it right, pay it down, pay it off, that's $10,000 with 2 properties. We're finding these properties every day. I don't know if Toby is on the call with us now, but every day he's finding properties. Him and I are going to look at some properties that he found on this coming Friday, where he simply called listings and asked them if they were interested in a lease option. It's always good to start off with the lease option, because realtors, everything I just mentioned in the last 30 minutes, realtors don't understand this terminology. They do, for the most part, understand lease option. So we lead with lease option. And so that's what he did. And he found like 2 yesterday, 2 today. And we're going to go take a look at them on Friday. Where Toby will probably wholesale those deals and make 5,000, 10,000 by putting those deals together. When I started thinking about this whole model, I started thinking, I've been trying to figure out ways that we can be successful as a group or as a community. And as a community, I feel like it's easier to use these creative financing strategies. It's easier to use the MLS. Somebody's asking, the better is a preference between Privy as opposed to My House Deals. My House Deals, they don't have access to the MLS. Right. My House Deals are deals that we find. Let's say we find a property, one of the properties works with Toby on Friday. We put that opportunity on My House Deals. So that's the difference between My House Deals and Privy. Privy is the MLS. My House Deals are actual deals that we put on in order to dispo those properties, sell those properties. My House Deals is similar to those of you guys who know what Uplift is. It's the same thing. So we're putting deals onto My House Deals. But how can we be successful as a community? And the way we can be successful is not having necessarily to worry about financing initially, doubling or tripling our cash flow, buying and holding properties, and having 1 or 2. Hopefully, some of you guys are ambitious and get 10 of these that I'm talking about in areas where you can eventually pay these properties off and have that cash flow for retirement in a very, very short period of time. And so my goal is for you guys to be successful, myself as well, obviously, and to have a strategy where we can be successful. Now, some of you guys will do the work and do the marketing and make the calls, which is good. And some of you guys won't. And there's no problem with that. But I do want you guys, because the ones that don't, let's just say you're a cash buyer, you don't have time to make the calls or just don't want to make the calls to to the agents or the sellers of the property. We go directly to the sellers as well. We skip trace. We create lists. We send those lists to REI Skip. REI Skip sends us back in real time the phone numbers to the owners. So we go straight to the owners of properties that are on the market or expired listings.
That's been working fairly good with our VA, Greg.
Yeah, our VA's been making appointments every single day with our expired listings. Every single day she makes appointments. But if you don't want to do the work, then we'll put these opportunities in our on our Facebook page, and you can purchase these deals. Now, as an initial matter, we ask for a lease option just to get the conversation going. And then if they're amenable to that, then we start asking questions about their mortgage. What's your interest rate? Do you have a mortgage? Would you be interested in doing, if they have a mortgage, would you be interested in doing sub 2? They don't have a mortgage, which one of the ones that he called doesn't have a mortgage. Mm-hmm. We started the conversation with a lease option, later found out that they don't have a mortgage. So we're going to ask them if they would be our bank and do seller financing. Our Facebook page is, and Keith, let's can you make a note to send out our Facebook page to everybody?
Yeah.
I think it's Bennett, what's it, Bennett Boot Camps?
Yeah, Bennett Boot Camps.
But yeah, you can send that out. We talked about that earlier today at a meeting.
Yeah, Harry actually set me up with admin rights.
And so we need to send out the link so everybody can sign up for our Facebook page.
Got it.
And so I think it's Bennett Boot Camps, private page. And so you can ask to come in. We'll send you guys a link. So those of you guys who are not in. Oh, Toby is here. He's under an alias. And so my goal for 2024 is to get as many of you guys purchasing these deals and having midterm rentals. That's my goal, because I know that it's an incredible way to have cash flow into your lives. Because of the strategy, there's really not a lot of negotiating. Now we're investors, so we're going to negotiate. But in some cases, as an example, we looked at some properties Saturday where they were just normal rentals at $2,500. We can take a property that they're renting for $2,500. If they're willing to do a lease option, we will, because that's what we do, but we don't necessarily have to negotiate. That $2,500, if it's 3 bedrooms and if it's 3 baths, then we can get $6,000 a month, and our note to the owner is $2,500. That's $3,500. That's $3,500 in positive cash flow. With the initial goal of $2,000 a month in positive cash flow. That's my personal goal, is to buy these properties and initially make $2,000 a month. And Dana's asking, yeah, so we have all the contracts, Dana. We have all the contracts. But believe it or not, there's sites like Furnish Finders, you guys, that have all the forms for you. But personally, we do have all the forms for subject to, for seller financing. I've sent forms to people. I just created the master lease. I don't want you guys asking me for all that stuff at once, but once you guys get deals, I'm happy to share with you guys. Is there anything that we've left out? Or any questions that you guys have?
You may want to name some of the service providers, I know you mentioned traveling nurses. There's battered women. I don't know if all of those would apply to the strategy that you just discussed.
So we do have, and we've always had other programs like veterans program. Some of you guys have used the veterans program, where it's sort of the same strategy, where we're forcing cash flow by renting rooms to veterans, battered women. I even found, my assistant found a program in Baltimore where they rent to pregnant teens. So there's a program for that. And I'm sure I'm leaving out some programs that we've researched. But the two programs that I like the best are, well, three really, are the insurance relocation, because you're getting 3x on your cash flow. Travel medical professionals like travel nurses, and just the luxury co-living, where you have professionals renting out a room in your property. And so some of the things I want you guys to Google, and some of you guys are asking questions and comments, but Google co-living. There is a site, coliving.com, where you can put your property there. Looks like some of you guys have gone to Furnish Finders. Go to YouTube and put in midterm rentals, and you'll see a lot of videos with a lot of people having a lot of success. And Lily, we know who Lily is, but I don't think we know her by Lily. You know who Lily is? Lily put not having great success with midterm rentals right now. So Lily, I would want to know why and ask you some questions, but there's some videos on YouTube that give you a good idea on why you're not having success with your midterm rental. It could be where it is, the location, maybe you're charging too much. There's a lot of different reasons. Lily is saying Furnish Finders is challenging right now. Not many, she's saying, interns in DC right now. I don't know what she means by interns. Maybe it's properties in DC. Mm-hmm. Is that what you mean, Lily? And I think she's right. I've looked at properties for which is opportunity for us. Josue is asking or saying, if the midterm, let me put it up here so I can see it better. If the midterm tenant falls through, we're coming out of pocket to the current with the existing mortgage, or, oh, I see what he's saying. And if I understand your question correctly, and so Josue, two things come to mind. Let's say that midterm tenant. So number one, the midterm tenant is not going to fall through, because another thing I like about midterm rentals is you get your money up front. And so that travel medical professional, they pay that 3 months up front. I like to say, have your property on at least 2 or 3 different sites. And so there's not a lot of turnover. You get notice. You have like a 90-day notice when they're moving out. And so you want to put that rental opportunity on one of these sites, at least 1 or 2, preferably at least 2 months prior to you needing that tenant. And so I talked to one midterm rental operator, and she says that she's got a 92% occupancy rate, because she knows when those tenants are moving out, and she knows when to market to get them to move in. And then also, like I said, that money is paid up front. If you go through certain sites like Pad Split, you guys can look up padsplit.com, Furnace Finders. All the money collected is paid up front. Okay. Let's see. How close do you need to be to a hospital? Oh, so Lily is saying, we answered this already, but Lily is saying, how close do you need to be to a hospital to have a Furnace Finders success? And so Lily, I think you will read that you should be within 15 minutes or like 2 to 3 miles. You'll read that. Now, I personally think that if you're in a B neighborhood, let's say in DC or Baltimore, where the professional can walk to different services, it really doesn't matter. My niece was a travel nurse. She had an assignment in Baltimore. Her hospital was it was Johns Hopkins, but it was Bayview. So if you guys know where Johns Hopkins Bayview is, it's not in the city. It's sort of right outside of the city. She didn't want to live out there where Bayview was. She wanted to live in the city. So she lived in the city and commuted out to Bayview. Gia. Gia commuted out to Bayview because she wanted the city experience. And so, Lily, I don't know where your property is, but if it's in DC, DC is another city that has at least, I think DC has 11 hospitals. So you can never go wrong. And so if your property is on Furnace Finders and it's in DC, then it's something that we need to, you can call me personally. I've studied this. So you can call me personally, and I could probably tell you why it's not moving. But again, you can go to YouTube and put midterm rentals, unsuccessful midterm rentals, or why isn't my midterm rental renting? And there'll be a few videos on why, and they can tell you. Josue is asking, what's your search criteria when searching for deals on MLS? All right, so here's my search criteria. Josue, write it down, Josue. Write it down. I do want 3+ bedrooms. I want 2+ bathrooms. I do want to be in zip codes or areas where they're like B neighborhoods. Now in the city, my preference is row houses. So I like the row houses. Parking is always an issue. So I want to make sure that there's parking. I had one in Fells Point that didn't work out because there was no parking. I want to, if I'm doing a lease option, I want the purchase price to be less than $300,000. So I put $300,000 or less when it's an active listing. Also on an active listing, I want 30, like you said, 30+ days on the market. I want expired listings. On the rental side, I want 30 days plus on the rental, and also an expired listing on the rental side as well. The 3+ bathrooms are important. Bathrooms are huge in this space. You get more money when they can have their own bathroom. I think that's primarily it. Did I leave out anything, Keith?
No, I think you got it. I know that you were thinking about the house, the year the houses were built, at least in Prince George's County.
Yeah. But my preference in our area, you guys, my preference is Baltimore, because that rental is going to be lower, so you can make more cash flow, and it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to pay those houses off. I'm thinking about this strategy as a retirement strategy, and the more properties you get, which you don't need a lot, depending on what your retirement goals are, you can start to take that cash flow and pay down on the principal and get these properties paid off in a very short period of time. Now the 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 that you're getting a month, that's yours for retirement. And all you need, depending on your goals, is for some people one, but maybe two or three, which I can guarantee you, we can get you two or three in 1 week, and then just buy them right, pay them down, pay them off. But they can easily be used for your retirement. Now, midterm rentals, the downside of a midterm rental, it is more property management than a long-term rental, because you're turning that property over a lot more often than a long-term rental. But the ends justify the means, because you're going to get 2 to 3 times more than a long-term rental. Now, sites like Pad Split, they'll manage the property for you, or you can manage them yourself, or you can hire a property manager and not have to worry about it. Let's see. Let me make sure I answered all the questions. Let's see. So on seller financing, Josue, our preference is no down payment. I had a situation where guy wanted $30,000 down, and he was going to finance the whole thing. And I said, no problem, I'll give you the 30,000, but I want you to take back a note for that 30,000. I'll pay that 30,000 in 3 months. I'll pay that 30,000 basically over a year. After the first 3 months, I'll give you 10,000. Second 3 months, I'll give you another 10. And third 3 months, I'll give you the other 10. And what I was going to do, it didn't work out. Well, we're still in negotiation. Is just take my money from the cash flow for the first 3 months and give that to him, and so on and so forth. So everything, even the down payment, is negotiable. So you can even negotiate that. And I put in the LOI, what does the LOI stand for? The letter of intent. My letter of intent, that first payment doesn't start for 90 days, so I could use the cash flow to pay the down payment. And that deal might work out. We've been going back and forth, but we're close to getting that to work out. Question is, how can I do this myself? So the properties that you're finding, you guys can keep them for yourself, and do, somebody like you, Toby, you can do what we call house hacking, and you can live in one unit as the owner and rent out the other units. And so you're not making those payments, your tenants are. And so you can easily do that yourself.
Greg, I know that we did have that one question I was telling you about, Candace's question.
What was her question?
What would the financing strategy be for a property if it had a reverse mortgage?
And so we can't take over. Well, theoretically, we can't take over a reverse mortgage. But a reverse mortgage, if one is still living, they have to live in the property. So they have to live in that property. They die, then that reverse mortgage, I think, is supposed to be paid off in 6 months, but it could be paid off in a year. And so for now, I would say let's not deal with reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgage is only for the senior who's living in the property. They can't use that as an investment property. All right. Any questions about anything we just said, you guys? We always last almost an hour, and we're only supposed to last for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But my voice kind of held up a little bit better than I thought. And so you guys are going to get more information on this. I have a goal, a personal goal for our community to do 100 of these next year. So we've got to get going. That's 10 a month. Or whatever the math is, 9 a month. And all we really need is more of you guys taking advantage of the opportunities, because I feel like we can easily get these opportunities. My concern is dispoing these opportunities, selling them to each other. I've got a lot of different sites that we can put these opportunities on. My preference is to keep it within our community, within our family, and acquire these properties. This is strictly a cash flow, you guys, cash flow strategy, where I want you guys to get the cash flow. Now, if you were to tell me, well, I don't have the credit, then fine, let's do lease options. Or let's do and I can help you guys. Let's negotiate where we're doing seller financing or sub 2. Now I'm going to take everything that I just talked about and break it down and do Zoom calls, 30-minute Zoom calls on what's lease option, what's seller financing, and when to use them. The co-living, a Zoom on medical professionals. And so I'm going to break each thing down that I just talked about. What are the sites that we go to, and what makes for a successful midterm rental? Like, you've got to have really good pictures, really good videos, and you've got to put yourself in the professional's position. Now, what are they looking for? They're looking for a nice furnished room. They're looking for a few amenities, like washer and dryer would be good. Parking, like I said, and a few other things. Where you can keep that. Obviously, you make more money the more your property is rented out, but that cash flow that you're getting, you're not spending that cash flow. You got to save that cash flow and maybe pay yourself every quarter, but you want to save your money for a rainy day, for maintenance, for vacancies, things like that. All right. If this makes sense to you guys, let's do like Josue just did and said, let's go. If it makes sense, or if you're excited, you want to be part of that 100 midterm rental goal, where you're either purchasing these yourself, or at least you're finding these and assigning these opportunities, wholesaling them. Or we are also looking for private money lenders that can lend to people who need money for first month's rent security deposit, or need we need private lenders. Let's say Josue finds a property and the seller is willing to do seller financing or sub 2, but they want $30,000 down. Josue doesn't have the 30,000, but one of you guys might have the 30,000 and willing to get 10% on your money. Josue would eat that up in a minute. And so we need private money lenders that can lend as well. And so let's go. I want everybody to think about what role you want to play. You want to be a private money lender? Do you want to acquire these opportunities and wholesale them? Hopefully, everybody wants to purchase at least one of these, or at least acquire them and control them up until the time that you need to get a loan. One last thing I'll say is, if you can hold on to these properties as a lease option, 2 to 3 years, and if you can make those payments, make sure you're making the payments to the owners on time. When you go to finance that property to pay them off, you can get what's called a DSCR loan. You show your track record of making those payments for 2 to 3 years. As long as you have 70% or 30% equity in the property, you don't have to put up any money when you go to refinance that property. So you're doing a lease option. You're only putting up first month's rent security deposit. And then when you go to acquire that property in 2 to 3 years, you're not putting up any cash either, because on a DSCR loan, they're looking at the financials of the property. We may introduce servicing companies where you guys are paying the owner through a servicing company, so that you can keep a good track record of your payments, and so that you can give that track record or that documentation to the lender to show that you've been making those payments on time. And if you can show that, then in 2 to 3 years, when it's time for you to acquire that property, as long as you have the credit, they're just looking at the financials of the property. So I'll talk more about the DSCR loans later. Let's see, I think we already answered Josue's question. All right, any other questions, you guys? And so, Keith, we need to put together, I know Christmas is what, Monday? Mm-hmm. Let's just say maybe next week, maybe, and I'll be feeling better, we can do another Q&A or a Zoom where people can actually come on live, mute themselves and ask questions, and I can start going over this. Sure. We will probably be out in the field a little more, maybe every other week in January, February, just to kick this off, to get you guys going. We will probably be out in the field at least every other week looking at opportunities.
I'm excited. Let's go.
So part of your 2024 goal, you guys, is to get at least one. And the other goal is to introduce someone else to our community. We need as many people in our community as possible, so that when you guys have a deal, let's say Toby has a deal, I can't buy all the deals. We've got more people in our community that he can wholesale these deals to. And Josue finds a deal. Seller says, I'll take seller financing. Josue should be able to go to our community and say, I need $30,000. You could either JV with me, partner with me, or just lend me money at 10%, 12%, whatever it is. We want to keep everything within our community. Now, Josue has the money to do seller financing. So introduce at least one person to our community, and then also have a goal. Now, I know I see some names on here like Dwayne Levy. In his mind, he's like, man, I could eat that up. I'll have 10. I'll have 10 by this time next year. I know how Dwayne thinks.
Real.
And Dana's probably the same. We got to get Dana out of PG County, though. Dana loves him some PG County. We got to get him out of PG County. All right, you guys. We will talk to you guys. Let's just say, you want to set something up for next week, Keith?
I can. I'm sure I'll be talking to investors in the meantime in our community. They very well may want to meet up. So, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, I did the research on how many hospitals are in DC. I don't know which hospitals have the most travel nurses. I don't think it really matters. I think we just know that DC is one of the cities. I think I Googled top cities with the most hospitals, and DC came up, Baltimore came up as well.
Mhm.
But like I said, we want to. I don't know for what we're doing unless you can get a great deal. My preference for you guys would be better neighborhoods in Baltimore. Now, I'm not talking about like the higher price ones, but the walkable neighborhoods, like the neighborhood we were in Saturday. There's little coffee shops, bagel shops, things like that. People
East
walking their
Baltimore.
dogs, walking their kids. One of the properties we were one block away from actually the park, and I drove around the park, Patterson Park, very very nice, gentrified. Um, that's what we're looking for because the goal or my goal for you is to one day soon, within 5 years as a goal, pay that property off. Now you've got this cash flow and an asset that's appreciating for the rest of your life. And so that would be my goal. We'll talk about how to pay off mortgages and things like that, how to accelerate and pay towards the principal. All right. Anything else, you guys? That is it. All right, you guys. Happy holiday. If you guys need to contact us, you know how to get in contact with us. Um, we'll be going out, I think, this weekend. Is it this weekend? Well, if you're interested in going out in the next week or two just to actually see what we're talking about, just let us know.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. That's all I have. Anything else, Keith?
Nope. No. Merry Christmas, guys. Like as I said, have a great holiday and be with your family, but be ready to go after the holidays are over.
And then don't be intimidated by anything I just said. If you don't feel like you have the time to go to Baltimore to find these deals, it's okay. We're going to put the opportunities um, in our private Facebook page. You can just take advantage of the opportunities. Or you don't have the wherewithal to purchase any of these, it's okay. Let's get good at finding these opportunities and then assigning these opportunities to one of our community members. Because I know a lot of you guys are busy, but we're going to find these opportunities, and hopefully our problem is, who are we going to give these opportunities to? I'm personally going to try to do 10 myself. So I'm going to be there with battling out with Dwayne and Dana on who's going to get the most. Matter of fact, we should have we'll come up with a contest. All right, you guys, that's all I have. Take care. God bless. Happy holidays, you guys.
Good night.
And we'll talk to you guys soon. Good night.